Hello RPGamers and welcome to another episode of An Hour to Impress. Today we'll be taking a look at Moon Hunters, a game that is surprisingly short and designed to be played multiple times. Because of this unusual design, I cheated a little bit this week. I actually played it for 2 hours in order to give you 4 complete playthroughs, which I'll now show you side by side.
Perhaps you've met them in a dream. The heroes that walked among us. Their stories taught us how to endure difficult times. For generations, we looked to them for strength, for guidance. Journeys end, but stories live on. Long ago, in this land we call Saria, our heroes were just travelers trying to find a way home.
Moon Hunters is kind of neat because there's a lot of story here, but it's also really hard to uncover. You have to kind of do it a little bit at a time through multiple playthroughs. Even after 4 technically complete playthroughs, I still haven't even scratched the surface of what's buried beneath here in terms of lore. The game lets you start out as 4 different classes and characters at the beginning. And as you complete playthroughs, you can unlock new characters as well as new starting points. After 4 playthroughs, I've only unlocked 1 additional character class and 1 additional starting point. So when you look at the 4 playthroughs as they go on in on the screen here, you'll see that 2 of them started in the same location, though I think I branched off into different areas as the game went on. For each of my 4 playthroughs, I did use a different class. On the top left, you'll see me using the spell sword. On the top right, I'm using a spellcaster. On the bottom left, a druid. And on the bottom right, a sun cultist, which is the one class that I've managed to unlock. Now, it's interesting because all 4 of these classes play extremely differently. The spell sword in the top left there is a very melee-oriented class. It's got mostly melee skills along with a dodge attack, which makes it really easy to get into the fray and kill things, but at the same time, it also is very vulnerable to counterattacks and it's easy to die. The spellcaster in the top right, however, is a ranged class, and she was actually pretty easy to use. I actually, of all the characters, I found her the most fun to play as, just because it seemed to have the most viability and options in terms of playstyle. She's a lot weaker in terms of health, so she can't take as many hits, but her spells are all long distance, and they can hit enemies for quite a bit of damage, so she was a lot of fun to play as well. The druid on the bottom left, I wasn't very impressed with it. It wasn't very fun, and it kind of sucked. It's sort of a ranged melee hybrid. In his human form, he's got a bunch of long-range spells. Basically, he can throw leaves at enemies, among other things. And he also has the ability to turn into a wolf and attack in melee, but the melee attacks are not as clean as they were for the spell sword, so it was much more difficult to use. And the wolf form only lasts for a certain amount of time, which makes it pretty limited in use. And finally, on the bottom right, there's the sun cultist, and I actually really enjoyed this class too. It's a lot like the spell sword in terms of viability as far as melee goes. He's got some basic melee attacks, but he's also got a lot of interesting ranged options. Although the biggest drawback of the sun cultist is that all the more powerful things it can do and the more useful things it can do require the button to be held down and charged, which makes it a lot more difficult to attack it while trying to run away from enemies and dodge them. All in all, though, the combat isn't really much of a draw. It's surprisingly difficult, especially since I think this game is not really meant to be played solo. It's designed more as a multiplayer experience. As such, a lot of the time, especially with the druid, I felt like running away was the best option. Just because trying to engage all the enemies and killing them, it reduced my health way too quickly, and as a result, I died and wasn't able to actually completely finish areas. There really isn't much in the way of reliable healing in the game. You can find little health orbs scattered around when you destroy objects in the world, but for the most part, there's no real way to restore health, and getting those orbs is extremely random and frustratingly rare at times. The bigger draw of the game is just basically discovering new things and finding out more about the lore of the world. There's a lot of interesting things to discover, and the world is procedurally generated, so every time you play the game, you're going to be experiencing different areas and seeing new things and discovering new things. Based on the decisions you make and the actions you take throughout the game, you can unlock new traits, things like pride or foolishness, and these abilities help you unlock new side quests. Unless you have a certain trait, certain characters won't even talk to you. But once you do have those traits, those characters will interact with you, and you can unlock new bits of lore and story and information like that. However, the key to all this is that in any given playthrough, you're only allotted 4 days to actually act. Basically, you can go through 4 dungeons, and if you manage to get through or die, that's a whole day passed. Similarly, once you get through all 4 days and get to the boss at the end, you only have one shot at defeating it. If you succeed, you'll get one ending, but if you die, you'll get another. Either way, the game ends, and you do get a proper ending, but you only get the one shot, which makes it very unlike other games. Regardless of which ending you get, at the end of the game, your hero is immortalized as a constellation, and this is the only permanent thing in Moonhunters that carries over between playthroughs. Each constellation unlocks some new aspect of the game that you can use in future playthroughs, and this is basically how the game really progresses. It's almost like a roguelike in that way, actually. However, instead of resetting upon death, like most roguelikes do, you have to complete each playthrough and story to its finale in order to start the next cycle and learn more about the world. And it really does seem like it could take a lot of playthroughs to really unlock the secrets of this game and figure out exactly what is going on. Even after just these 4 playthroughs, there's a ton of stuff in the game that I have found but haven't actually been able to explore yet. For example, I have no idea what the heck is going on with these blue spirit guys that I keep seeing. I keep getting a hint that they speak in a language of wind, but I have no idea how to unlock the ability to speak to them. There's also these little flame things that I've found a couple of times that seem to have some sort of relevance, but again, I have no idea what's going on. There was also a miniature boss fight that I had. I ended up losing, which was unfortunate. But if I had won, it seemed like I would have been able to go into some sort of weird spirit realm, and I'd be very interested to figure out what exactly is going on there as well. And of course, in neither of the 2 endings that I got, do I actually find out what happened to the moon, which is the whole point of the game's story, is that you're setting out to discover what happened to the moon because it's not rising anymore. And that actually is something I really want to do. I do want to see where this whole story and the lore involved in it goes in the end. So that I might try to arrange a play session with Sam Wachter, who reviewed the game for RPGamer, along with maybe some other RPGamer staff members, and see if we can't uncover the secrets of Moonhunters. So if that's something you'd be interested in watching, just leave us a note below in the comments, and maybe we can make something happen in the near future. In any case, I think it's about time to wrap up this episode of An Hour to Impress. But I do have to say that I am rather impressed with Moonhunters. The game does have its flaws, most notably that it's not terribly friendly to solo players. But its unique story structure and interesting replay system that gives it a ton of replay value really makes it unlike anything else you're going to find on the market right now. Its biggest flaw, however, would probably be its rather hefty $16.99 Canadian price tag, which for a game that can technically be beaten in about 40 minutes seems a little steep. However, since the game clearly is meant to be played multiple times in order to get the whole story, there is a little bit of leeway there. Your mileage is probably going to vary depending on how many times you decide to play it. As always, if you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them below. Thanks for watching.
Into the ever-burning glass.
Without Marduk's leadership, the Sun Cult dissolved. betrayers were cast into the wilderness to perish. Yet still, the moon did not return. The pale dancer's wings grew colder, and her owls flew no more. The great mother's harvests grew, and her wolves howled in every season. The silver sister's secrets faded into dust, the songs of knowledge unsung. The queen of heaven no longer guided our laws and judgment. Her faithful left too, flying we know not where. Every year we honor what remains of her memory with a great feast, and tell the stories of the heroes that fought for her.